Hello, I'm Francisco Gallegos, and this Pechakucha is about my unit plan for CLDE 5825. All semester, we have been challenged to tackle the majority minority ideology we see play out in public schools. Not exposing the truth and avoiding difficult topics of discussion in our schools perpetuates the systemic racism we see day in and day out in our society. The main activity of this unit plan requires the interview of a community member who immigrated to the United States. The point is to build a framework of empathy as a student. Having experiences early on helps children grow and be resistant to the racist rhetoric that is a hallmark of our country. This activity will draw upon the resources of the students in the classroom. Students will work in groups, and bilingual students will be ambassadors that will help conduct the interview. It will be important for monolingual students to broaden their perspective and expose themselves to the diversity of our communities. The teacher will be providing supports to students by giving them structure. The teacher will also be involved in helping students make connections with possible community members to be interviewed. The students will also undergo training on how to conduct an interview. Part of the supports includes a list of sample questions, and the teacher will also engage in I do, we do, and you do methods in order to build the confidence of students as they go on this journey of making a connection with the history of people in our community. There will be two culminating activities for the end of the unit. The first one will be an oral report intended to be presented in front of the class. The presentation will include images that students choose to help convey what they learned. They will practice and work together with their same partner and present as a group. The second culminating activity will be a call to action. Students will find their local representative in Colorado using a website called Find My Representative. They will proceed to apply the knowledge they learned from the experiences of the interviewee to advocate and pressure our representatives to actively work to stop the inhumane treatment of immigrants at the border and in our country. I have differentiated and scaffolded for students by adhering to WIDA standard and using word phrase level concepts. I have also used verbs from Bloom's taxonomy to keep students engaged and focused and not waste time doing something irrelevant to the project. The main Bloom's taxonomy words that I use are make connections, explain, and describe. Meta-language is an important part of any multilingual classroom. Students will be engaging with bidirectional conversations as they work through the interview process. They will need to rely on their multilingual partner in order to authentically engage with the interviewee and their story. Teachers will also use bilingual anchor charts. These will serve to bring awareness of similarities and differences in both languages. Words like immigration, the border, etc. will help build long-lasting connections with the vocabulary associated with this topic and help them be able to express themselves precisely in the future. My modified performance indicators are aligned with the second part of the final activity, which involves reaching out to a local representative. Students will primarily rely on the connections that they made throughout the unit. They will then, depending on their level, draw, illustrate, state, explain, give feedback, or persuade their audience. All of this is honestly aimed at persuasion or exposing truth to their local representatives. It will be very important for students of all levels to have an experience where gatekeeping was not present and they were still held in the same regard as other students who are further along in their English learning journey. All the resources that I chose are all practical and intended to help students go through the unit without feeling stuck. My first resource has to do with the interview preparation phase, and this will be done through exemplars of interview questions and practices and modeling by the teacher. Another crucial resource will be appropriate graphic organizers to help students organize their thoughts and keep them for writing their scripts and for their oral presentations, and when contacting a representative. Graphic organizers create a sequence for students to follow so they can use their in-class work time efficiently. The next part of this presentation is about the community and the outreach. The readings about authentic connections with the community explain that many connections are carried out in a status quo fashion that operates from a majority-minority model. This model serves to impose conformity. I created activities that empower community members, parents, and teachers. I started by thinking of what the needs of community members, parents, and students are. With that in mind, I took to heart the parts of the articles which explain the authentic models of engagement centers around community members, parents, and students as fountains of knowledge in order to flatten the majority-minority hierarchy model. The first activity is called the workshop swap. I thought long and hard and wanted to go in the direction of providing education for community members, yet I did not want the educators to be the ones educating. I decided to create an activity which hands over the institution to the community so that they can educate anybody who is interested about topics or skills they feel motivated to share with others. My second activity is very serious and is called a school syndicate. This is a very intense project that hinges upon what we learned about parent involvement models. I focused on the third model called alternative school reform. This will be different than the PTA in the sense that the group will recruit members by being upfront about the goals of the group, which is to challenge systemic racism in the school and work alongside teachers' unions to hold school and district administrators accountable for their perpetuation of systemic racism. My third activity is grade level teams and time to focus on ELLs. And what really stood out to me in the readings was that you have to give educators time in order for them to truly create a multicultural and multilingual classroom and actually serve those needs of their students. So teachers will be expected to work with a bilingual teacher as the ESL expert or the ESL coach within the school, and they will work at least 1 hour a week focusing on every ELL student in the grade level and actually taking the time to make the lesson plans that are appropriate for them. So this will hold teachers accountable and give them the resources and time needed to take on the overwhelming responsibility of creating a language learning environment that authentically benefits students of color. Okay, thank you for watching my presentation. Let these activities inspire you to join your teachers union and begin the work of pushing back against these school districts that consistently degrade the working conditions of teachers and consistently undermine the potential of members of communities of color. Thank you very much.